Hi, friends. Welcome back to Not Again, the podcast that brings college level analysis to preschool level content. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
And I'm your other host, Alan.
And today we are continuing to talk about The Incredibles. And we are not in our usual recording space, so sorry because I'm assuming it's going to be kind of echoey in here. But you can still hear the dulcet sounds of our not quite radio-friendly voices. So, sorry.
So just a different space is all, and so it's a little bit less sound deadened, but that's all right, hopefully.
We could have soundproofed it, but we don't care about you that much. I'm just desperately searching for my phone. Like, I very carefully set up everything, and now...
Yeah.
Like, it was the one thing I knew we needed was my phone. Phone, where are you? So I've got a lot of notes on The Incredible. Like, the last time I think we just were chatting about it, but, like, this time I have a lot of notes. So, we'll skip the trivia and goof segment this week, I guess, because I just realized that
we got a lot to talk
about. So does Warren watch The Incredibles a lot? Because the premise of this podcast is that we discuss things that we have seen over and over again due to our children. Not really, but there was a time I remember, like maybe in El Paso, where we kind of tried to get him into it, and so we did see it a lot. Right?
I think, and it's a movie that we've seen just on our own several times.
Oh yeah, I have seen it a lot.
And but we put it on for him at one time or another, but he never really got super into it. I don't think. Yeah,
but yeah, he's super into it. I see what you did there. If that were on purpose, we would have had to get a divorce and have an ad break 2 minutes into the episode.
Oh, okay.
Fortunately, it was just, I mean, I don't know. You could divorce me for pushing it. But anyway, the other thing is, like, it occurred to me about 2 minutes after we finished recording, or at least like after I published the episode last time, that I was trying to say that the supers problem was kind of like white privilege or something like that, but it's not that. It's the war on Christmas. It's being like in a superior position in society, and then like other people being like, please don't consider yourself above us, and then being like, stop oppressing me. Like, you know what I mean? Like somebody's like, oh man, war on Christmas. And it's like, well, as a Jewish person, let me explain something. Depending on where I am in the country, if it's December, I'm not sure if I'm going to walk into a store and find Hanukkah stuff. At best, I might find an end cap somewhere in Target that has a dancing rabbi, a cheap menorah, and like a dreidel. But no person who celebrates Christmas is ever going to have the fear that they're going to walk into a place in December, or heck, even November. They're not going to wonder like, I wonder if they'll have Christmas stuff here. So, like, that's what it is. It's like you're already in a superior position, not like literally, but like somehow like a position of privilege. And then someone is not asking you to lessen your privilege, but rather increase theirs. And you're like, how dare you? So that's the supers to me, is like, hey, could you be like everyone else, please? And follow the same laws. And they're like, how could you ask that, you cruel, cruel villains? So that's what it reminded me of. And then I haven't shared this with you. I think that my mother, who is our only listener, I'm very sorry to our other listener. My mother's one of our only few listeners. I think that she shows her love by like engaging in discourse with us about our podcast when she listens to it, to show she has listened to it. So like she's asked for this, right? I feel like if she wants to get into the game, then she's going to have to get into the game. So hi, Mom. Let me read your text that you gave me no permission to read out loud on a podcast. Your points about privilege are valid. However, one of the lessons is be yourself. My mom found a lesson. Be yourself. And I mean, like, we look at this wonderful exchange between Mrs. Incredible, we'll talk about that, and Dash, where she says everyone's special, and he, the 10-year-old genius, apparently says that's just another way of saying no one is, which is like, it's true, but wow, that's...
Yeah, I mean...
It's deep for a 10-year-old. So the lesson is, like, don't be afraid to be yourself.
Right.
Be who you are, be super. Don't let other people dictate your identity to you, all that good.
And don't hide who you are just because it makes people uncomfortable or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, totally true. That is the lesson. Yes, I'm going back to the text message here. Yes, Mr. Incredible missed his glory, but he also wasn't an insurance salesman. True, most people aren't doing their dream job, but many of them are also sad or resentful about it. Second, loss of identity is a hard thing. Imagine a young man who was an all-star football player in high school and college, then a first-round draft pick for the NFL. I didn't even know that my mom would know the words first-round draft pick for the NFL.
But she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
I gotta admit, I wouldn't have known what first-round draft... I still don't actually know what first-round draft pick means. I just kind of sort of know. He, too, is used to glory. Then, after a few great seasons, he sustains an injury that ends his career. The question becomes, if I'm not a football star, then who am I? Most athletes nowadays realize that their careers will end long before they're 65, and they plan a backup. Or they don't, and then they're in deep, deep trouble. So, does my mother have valid points? Yes. Is she also wrong? Yes. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Mom, I love you. No, I wanted to engage with this because it's true. There's a lot of similarities. Between I know I've been doing a lot of talking for this episode. I'll let Alan say some stuff later.
It's fine, yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing any of the work and he's like, darn.
Oh, shucks, yeah.
So this is absolutely true. But the thing is that it's not necessarily correct for a football player to get bogged down in their former glory days either. So the fact that she says that they make a backup plan is exactly the point. And on top of that, Mr. Incredible / Bob Parr is so stuck in his past that he cannot appreciate what he has, with his family and his children, and he puts them in danger, on multiple occasions just to seek that again.
Well, and to go back to the football analogy, it's not the same if you're the captain of the chess team. It is a privileged position. We put all this glory into football. And
sorry, I'm just laughing really hard now at the idea of doing a spoof movie where the captain of the chess team is bitter because he's lost his glory days of being the captain of the chess team. Sorry,
yeah, so it is a position where the school spends lots of money and they build stadiums and people cheer and all this sort of stuff, and because we love sports as a society, but. Again, that's you having to come back down to earth. That's you having to become a regular person like everybody else after those glory days are done.
Well, here's the thing that we talked about. So in our last episode, I discussed that me and Heather Sinclair and her partner, Martin, who has been on the show, talked about this for my AP students. And one of the things we addressed is, if you're born with superpowers, are you not allowed to be anything else? Is there a person bagging your groceries who has the power to shoot fire out of their eyes, but they're like, nah, I just wanted to get a part-time job and then go to college, or just
I'm really into interior design. Yeah.
The government is involved in this.
Yeah.
You can see that when the government becomes involved in the cover-up, and so it's does the government Nick Fury them come to them and be like, you are required,
to fight for your country or whatever, right?
How much say do they have? Are there just superpowered people in college? Just doing their thing, getting jobs.
Please, shy people exist in all shapes and sizes. It just, please leave me alone,
There is, the writer in me wants to see that story of a superpowered world where somebody has some pretty epic powers, but just doesn't feel like being a superhero. They have no interest in it. They're just just because I was born with the ability of super strength and, impervious to bullets and whatever, doesn't mean I want to use that to fight crime. I just want to paint.
Yeah, I still don't want to get in positions where I'm getting shot at.
Yeah, I'm good with the regular person career track. In the game of life where you can take the college route or the career route, would be like that, only it's the superhero route or the regular person route. So anyway, my mom made good points, and it's just we're supposed to feel sympathetic for Bob, I want to say. But I don't, because it's not actually correct to get bogged down in the past. Or think about The Great Gatsby. Gatsby is not actually a sympathetic character, and we also have Tom from The Great Gatsby, who was a football star in college, and he's one of the biggest villains in the book, and he is disparaged as well for not being able to move past that. So it's not necessarily a healthy thing. And yes, loss of identity. We talk about the word identities in there. Their secret identities need to go away, but the secret identity is a significant part of their entire identity to themselves. And so to make that go away is psychologically damaging, which means the government did a bad. I know this has never happened before.
That's never happened before.
The look of astonishment you just gave me. No, it's true. The government in this fictional universe should have arranged counseling for the supers. No mention was made of them having mental health support in this transition.
And out of all the people that you would want to have the supportive mental health environment, it's people who
can melt your brain.
Can melt your brain.
Yes. That's very true. So that, that's something as well, is just like, are there supers out there who aren't being superheroes? And I also want to know if like Edna has like a competition, like superhero designer, or is she just doing it for every super out there? And here's the thing. We have a villain. The main villain of the movie is a person who does not have superpowers. So the idea that I got from it was that he's supposed to be somewhat of a novelty, right? He's this person who, despite not having superpowers, is competing on a superpowered level. The problem that I discovered, again, while making notes that I should have made the first time, is that Bon Voyage doesn't have superpowers either. He is like a low-key syndrome. He just has a bunch of cool explosives and mime paint on his face. So,
all right. Yeah.
Like, there were already people out there who were just, like, inventing stuff and using it to be villains. And none of that... I mean, like, the only difference is Bon Voyage was like, Monsieur Incroyable, like, we deserve to be considered supervillains as well, despite the fact that I only make my powers. He doesn't care. He's just, like, blowing things up. But, like, Syndrome was like, hey, I want to be acknowledged as equal to you. Like, that's the only difference. And he doesn't have a French accent. That was one of the funniest bits in the film to me, I think, was just like when he started speaking French at him. By the way, I apologize to everyone out there. I can't speak French at all. Also, the cops should just stop him. The cops should just stop him. This is the same thing as the shootout.
They show just supreme levels of incompetence with the police.
This is the moment where they were like, wait, you let him get away? And it's like, he's a dude with bombs. Like, go get the bomb squad and a SWAT team and stop him. Like, what are you doing?
I'm a dude in a blue shirt. Like, I'm not prepared for explosion.
I mean, look, it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, yes, you did. Mr. Cotman, this is what you signed up for. He's not a supervillain. He's a dude with bombs. Go stop him. Why do you need super... See, this just encourages the law enforcement to be lazy and dependent on other people, is what supers do. Short people. So we talked about this very much during the Ratatouille episode that you probably didn't even listen to because you don't listen to your own podcast. I'm not gonna call you out for that again after today, I promise. But the villain in Ratatouille is short. Edna is short, and the, not villain, but I guess curmudgeonly boss that Mr. Incredible Bob Parr has to, face up against is given features that imply dwarfism as well. And I don't know what Pixar is doing with short people. I don't even know. There might be other examples of this in other Pixar movies, but the ones that stick out to me with short people bias, I guess. So we see them as either comedic, villainous, or both. So we have the chef in Ratatouille who's both comedic and villainous. We have Edna, who's supposed to be a comic relief character and is problematic for other reasons, as we'll talk about. And then we have the boss, who's just a villain character.
Yeah.
Like, we love laughing at the expense of short people and people with dwarfism, according to Pixar. And it's like, could you... I don't have anything to analyze. Well, it's just stop doing that.
I think the idea behind it was the juxtaposition. Here is this caged superhero who is huge and massive, and he's being stifled by this tiny man who is thinking of short-sighted things like profit for the company investors and whatever, and basically it's just to show contrast, I guess.
Yes, and it absolutely is, but the thing is that they didn't have to go that far. I swear they were just trying to drive home the point, like kind of lead the audience by the nose, ear, hand, toe. Which one is it? Darn it, I'm losing the idiom. For some reason, because I think oxen, right? You lead them by the nose.
Yeah.
Something like that. Hold their hand, lead them by the nose. The point is, they're like, they won't understand the juxtaposition unless we really make him short. It's like, no, like he could have been like a wienerly guy in comparison to Bob and shorter than him, and we would have gotten it. Like he didn't have to
the teacher. Teacher's another wienerly guy.
Yeah, the teacher. He could have looked like the teacher, Incidentally, is played by the dude who plays Alfredo Linguini in Ratatouille. So, like, in Ratatouille, it is explicitly supposed to be funny that Skinner is short. Like, I point to when he has to grab the step stool.
Yep.
But in The Incredibles, it seems to be that they're just obsessed with juxtaposing short people with big things. So Edna, everything in her house is designed for her, a short person, but like also everything's big and huge and tall and open and whatever. But like that's not a necessary thing to the story. Like, she could still be a larger than life woman without like being like, ha ha, look how short she is, but she's got a big personality. Like, she's not a cockapoo. You know, like, she is a person. And that's the thing. The word of the day is verisimilitude. Like, it would be okay. Cartoon characters look weird all the time. They are short. They are tall. They are like, they have no neck. They have, whatever. The Powerpuff Girls didn't have fingers or toes. But this movie was, for the most part, going for verisimilitude. They were caricatures of people, but they all resembled people. So you have to be consistent with that. Edna being super short, I can't say the word super anymore. Edna being incredibly short is particularly noticeable because nobody else is. She's cartoony while no one else is, which is what brings the racism thing to be worse. So I Googled it after the show and I found a horrible article. It was actually a fine article. It was just like the implications were terrible. It turns out that, and this, take everything, it's the internet, take everything with a grain of salt. I did the bare minimum research. It turns out that according to Brad Bird, he was not intending to base Edna on anyone recognizable. I always thought it was Edith Head because that's like who my mom immediately said that she looked like. Edith Head, by the way, I said was a fashion designer. She was a costume designer for movies. Okay. Makes a little more sense.
This is kind of like a shout out to somebody in their community a little bit. Yeah, and
costume
Edna Mode,
designer.
Edith Head,
yeah, exactly. And like, and Edna Mode is a costume designer, but different. The
superhero costumes rather than movie costumes, even though in real life they're the same thing.
Yes, and if you Google her, you will see similarities. So again, it's like how truthful is he being? There are some other people who have said like, oh, I think she's based on this person, or she's a combination of Edith Head and somebody else. But the point is that Brad Bird said he designed her herself. This is bad because, he designed her himself. I don't know if I said, pronouns. Yeah. Because he is also quoted saying that he imagines her as half German, half Japanese. So he is outright stating that she's not based on anybody. And in his head, she is Asian. She's of Asian descent. And if you look at her and then you Google, I'm going to say World War II propaganda poster.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, because people definitely took those caricatures a bit too off the deep end there.
Yeah. Or read a Captain America comic, honestly, from the 1942. So basically, the features that they chose for her: large round glasses, the particular haircut, the buck teeth, the accent, the fact that she's comedic, and the fact
and diminutive.
Yeah, and the fact that the creator himself said he pictured her as being of Asian descent. That is so wrong on so many levels. Now, let me tell you something. I found Edna to be an endearing character. I liked the laughs that I got from her, like when she would
and guest,
Yeah, the and guest, and when she's like talking about the baby not having any powers, but he'll look fabulous anyway. Like, she's written very well.
Yeah, luck favors the prepared.
Yeah, like I loved the writing. I just it would have been so easy to not make her a racist caricature. You know what I mean?
You just had to not do it. You just had to be like, okay.
All the same lines and a slightly different accent and a different character design, and it would have had the exact same impact. Even if you made her short still, like, I still would have been complaining about it 20 years later on this podcast, but at least I wouldn't have also been calling you a racist. So there's that. It would have been so easy to just make her a larger than life woman who's a bit eccentric, like a Miss Frizzle type.
Well, didn't they originally wanted Lily Tomlin to be the voice?
Yeah.
So
I think they were thinking of a Miss Frizzle type.
They were thinking of a Miss Frizzle type.
And Lily Tomlin is partially responsible for this mess, because the story goes that she was in for a reading as an audition, and then Brad Bird kept telling her, like, no, say it like this, and she said, like, you don't need me, you got it.
You do it then, and then
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know how much she put together. I don't know if she had pictures of Edna and was hearing this voice and knew that he was inspired to make her, like, of Asian descent and went, yeah, this is fine. Like, I'm not going to say this is all Lily Tomlin's fault. Or she was just
like, not going to touch this.
She was like, this sounds great. This sounds funny. You're doing voice acting, and left. Like, I'm not, it's fine. But that's how the story goes.
Or she said, not my problem. I'm getting out of there. Yeah, I'm getting out of here.
Exactly. So it's just, it's amazing what people got away with, and also that nobody else has really, well, I can't say that. I can't say nobody else has brought this up, because it's not like I've looked into it. I haven't Googled, like, why is Edna Mode racist and why has he gotten away with this? But it just goes to show that a lot of really bad stuff, until unfortunately very recently, has just slipped right under the radar.
It just has gone left uncalled out.
And I mean, like, for this, and I think I can't remember if I talked about this on the show before, but semi-recently I rewatched the show Scrubs, which is a beloved television show to me. And I was shocked. This show, I believe first season was 2004, absolutely gobsmacked at how transphobic that show was.
Yeah.
How much that show hated women. Racist at times. I mean, they were like, we have Turk, so we have representation, and it's like, but like, the transphobia is just, I mean, I have so many memories of the early 2000s of just like the punchline of a TV show, like sitcom episode, would be someone was trans. Yeah. That was the punchline.
It wasn't a joke about it. It was just, it exists. Ha ha.
Yeah. And by the way, I will be putting in, if you're listening to this and have read the episode description, I hope, I will be putting in a trigger warning and letting people skip me talking about transphobia. As vague as I'm trying to be, it's still very upsetting. But this was 2003, 2004 as well. And it was a different time. You'd think the 2000s would be like advanced and stuff, but it wasn't. So I just, there was an article I read on it, and it wasn't like the most reputable source. It was like the Post or something, but do your own research. It's, ugh. Okay. So let's talk about the last name Parr, because I think you brought this up either on air or right after we finished recording last time.
But
so yeah.
Yeah. The name was chosen on purpose, obviously. It's made up.
It's Bob's last name that Helen takes.
His name is Bob. And which is Bob is a common name. It's often considered like the most common name, or just like the most generic name. And Parr, with one R as opposed to two, is a good par for the course, or shooting par, or just the level of normalcy, or like kind of just like the average target of something. And so he's named like Joe Average.
Yes, well, we have a concept called the everyman in literature, and that is, so normally you have names that kind of imply everyman, like the horrible story Cold Mountain, his last name was Inman, or something like that. Winston Smith in 1984, the last name Smith, right? Yep. We have somebody who is average in every way and represents every person, and that's why we call them the everyman.
Usually in expositions heavy world, you want to like read everything through an everyman's eyes. Yeah. So that like you can get an idea of the way the world works.
It's a conduit for the audience.
Yeah.
In this case, it's done for, I mean, almost like the irony of it, that he's not the everyman, but he's forced into this position. So his name is kind of representative of that. And like, that's not a complaint. We're also just, we're analyzing. That's what we do. Yeah. And also, going back to what the fact that my mom was like pushing back on it a little bit, like our analysis is just us like just running our mouths. Like, we're not experts or the end all be all by any means, and we don't believe ourselves to be. Yep. But Mrs. Incredible. So Bob Parr's superhero name is Mr. Incredible. That's his superhero name. It is in no way his legal name. Right. His last name is not Incredible. And yet the movie is called The Incredibles. When Edna makes them super suits, she gives them all the Incredible logo. And when Mirage, played by Elizabeth Pena, may she rest in peace, she was wonderful, sees Helen towards the end of the movie, she says, you must be Mrs. Incredible. She's not Mrs. Incredible. She is Elastigirl.
Yeah, that was her secret identity. She loses her secret identity.
She loses herself. Like, talking about identity, right?
Yeah.
Like, as soon as she gets married, apparently she doesn't even get to keep her superhero name. And they walk that back in the sequel because they call her Elastigirl. But they're the Incredibles. She's Mrs. Incredible. I can't even keep, like, I keep calling her Mrs. Incredible by mistake instead of Elastigirl. Like, she's not even really known as Elastigirl to fans. Like, the fact that as a woman, she took on her husband's last name and her superhero husband's super name is astounding. It's incredible, but not in a good way. It's incredible as in unbelievable. The audacity. So I needed to bring that up to just like consider the fact that his name isn't Mr. Incredible.
Well, and his kind of character arc involves him losing his piece of his identity and longing for the glory days and longing for the past and longing for his old identity. And like, she gave hers up for him, and that's not touched on at all.
Nope. She's just there to raise his children and go rescue him
and reheat leftovers.
Yeah. And hey, the sequence of her breaking in to the bad guy HQ was great.
And she can fly a jet. And
it's snug, by the way.
Oh, snug
or snog. I mean, she has a weird, like, Holly Hunter has a very nasally voice, but I'm pretty sure it's snug. And originally it was supposed to be Snug flying the plane and he was going to die in the crash. And then they were like, oh, that sounds dark. And they were like, wait, should we also take out the racist caricature? And they're like, no, leave that in, but take out the dead guy.
Well, and they gave her the it's kind of an homage to, what is it, Wonder Woman, who has a jet?
Yeah. And I mean, like, I was joking about the discussion. Obviously, they never discussed taking out the racist caricature. I don't even know if they are aware. Like, racism is, in a lot of ways, like, so ingrained. It's an ideology, especially in white people, because we're exposed to, heck, propaganda. You know, like, just because the media is a little more subtle with it doesn't mean it's not there. That, like, they could have created this entire character and not even realize what they were doing. Not that I'm trying to absolve them, but it's like that ingrained in our society. But they did decide not to make Snug die, so good for him. And yeah, she's like, I still really like this movie. It's just that it was Heather Sinclair who pointed out the Mrs. Incredible thing, and it's like, yeah, she isn't Mrs. Incredible. That's not a thing. And I suppose, like,
it wasn't her secret identity.
Yeah, it could have been fixed if they just hadn't named him Mr. Incredible. You know, he could have been Incredibilio, you know, whatever it might have been. He could have been Billy
Incredible Man. Yeah, if he was Incredible Man, she would not be Incredible Woman.
Oh, they probably would have, though. They probably would have, honestly. I mean, think about Batman and Batgirl. And by the way, Batgirl, like, not Batwoman, Supergirl, Batgirl. So yeah, in fact, there is
the whole man versus girl.
There's a history apparently of superhero men, you know, giving their super names to the women who join them.
Yeah.
And like it leads me to question, like, if Dash, Violet, and Jack ever want to just be superheroes on their own, like, are they going to be allowed to come up with their own super name, or are they just going to have to be like, I'm Dash Incredible? It's my last name now, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Incrediboy.
I'm Incrediboy. Nope.
That was
what Syndrome wanted to be. And so, I mean, it's like when Robin wanted to stop being Robin, he gave himself a new name. He was like, I'm Nightwing now. I'm not with that guy anymore. You know? So will they have to do that? Like, completely rebrand themselves? Yeah. Speaking of, Syndrome is Batman and Iron Man. So it's interesting that we live in a society in this world, in the Incredibles world, where nobody's done this before, except for, of course, Bon Voyage, and they're just like, that guy, he's, you know, whatever.
He just likes explosions. He doesn't have a purpose, really.
Speaking of which, he is in Ratatouille. For those who haven't seen it, Bon Voyage has a cameo in Ratatouille. But yeah, like, no one else has tried to just, like, I don't know, invent stuff to make them super?
I guess not.
And yeah, if he, like, the fact of the matter is that if he just wanted to invent that stuff and sell it to people for good reasons, like, hey, use this for home defense, he would have been a hero. It just so happened because he was a jerk that he was, you know, like, he wanted, we were talking about this last time, like, he was selling these as weapons for, like, war and stuff, and that's bad. But there are
I mean, somebody makes the bombs for the military. I won't go political and like tell you what companies they are, but like you can buy their stock.
Yeah, like I mean that's Iron Man. He was making military weapons, like, and he was like, oh, I'm so ashamed of this, but like somebody does. And I'm not saying the military needs more weapons. I'm not particularly into militarizing.
Yeah, I don't want to like to go off on that tangent, but like people just do that in our society right now.
But he could also go into like home security. You know, like, hey, I have this thing that will...
flying boots. People would just do that.
Yeah, just like have like, you know, like Sky Zone with trampolines, but with flying boots. You know, you pad people up and like put a helmet on them and go nuts. You know, like, so it's just kind of, it's interesting to me. It's like we already have this character in other genres of this. No, not other genres, in other properties of this genre. They just happen to be good guys because they gave up their life. Because it's not the capitalism that's bothersome, right? Like we are in a capitalist society, so Tony Stark being rich, we're just like, haha, look at him.
Yeah, he's a rich guy with his fast car.
Bruce Wayne, he's rich too. Like, whatever, but he does it for good. He bees rich for good. And so like we're fine with that. So if Syndrome had just been like, I got rich and then I started saving orphans with my technology, we would have been like, cool.
Yeah.
You do you. Go back to your volcano home. Or whatever.
Nothing weird about that.
Yep, totally fine. You just live on a volcano.
Yep. And our billionaires try to live on Mars, and we're just like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
you figure that out, man.
I mean, could you do more charity before you leave?
No,
I guess.
Okay, fine, whatever.
All right. So that leads us to the end of not really. I mean, there's so much more to talk about with The Incredibles, but that's the end of this episode, and I don't think we'll go back to it. I also don't know what we're talking about next time, but we have a Patreon that will eventually, update. It's patreon.com/potato lady because I am Potato Lady. I am at Bex Goose on Twitter. That is BEXGOOS. I have written a young adult supernatural romance called Hellbound that is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Links are in the description, but you can also go to bit.ly/hellbound1 and bit.ly/hellbound2. We have a Ko-fi. Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/not again. I have a buy me a coffee page. So if you dislike Alan, you can buy me a potato and just leave a little note saying it's only for me. And I will appreciate that. And I will not share the money with Alan because you said it's legally binding if you say like Alan can't have this money. With that, we've reached the end of our time together for today. We'll be back next week to learn with you again. Until then, thank you for listening, thank you for existing, and thank you for helping us to maintain our marbles for just one more week. Don't forget, friends, it's okay to be rich. Help me out here. It's okay to be rich, but don't be rich and mean. Use your rich to help all those sad poor people out there.
Or just, like make sure that your henchmen have good benefits.
Yeah, if your henchmen are willing to punch children in the face for you and murder them, you should definitely give them dental.
Dental, yeah.
At the very least. And PTO.
Oh, yeah. Paid time off. Yeah.
Yeah, very important. And that's that.
Okay.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Alan.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.